The European Union has sent a civilian mission to the Armenia-Azerbaijan border. But what exactly are we to make of this development? Is this going to deter Azerbaijan's aggressive actions, or is this a performative exercise? To discuss this and more, I'm joined by Dustin Hoffmann, a policy advisor for one of the German MEPs in the European Parliament. So, Mr. Hoffmann, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me to talk about this very important topic.
So after a meeting between Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, the Azerbaijani and French presidents, and the President of the European Council, an agreement was struck to send a 40-member monitoring mission to the Armenia-Azerbaijan border. How significant is this news in your opinion, and what was your reaction?
I consider it significant, and I was happy when I heard it because it is some kind of progress, especially if you take into account that just before the meeting, Josep Borrell, the Josep Borrell at the European Parliament said that he offered Azerbaijan and Armenia to send an observation mission to the border, and he said that Azerbaijan refused and said, like, what can we do? And my reaction to that was, Armenia is a sovereign country. If they ask the EU to come and monitor, just go. You don't need Azerbaijan's permission to send an observation mission to Armenia. And this is, in the end, now the result of what is actually happening. We have a monitoring mission to Armenia, in Armenia. Azerbaijan accepts that, but they don't have any say in this anyways. So they said that they will cooperate with the mission where it's needed, but it's the good and the right thing to do. Just because Azerbaijan refuses to accept any monitors on their territory, which they are told they can't do that, it's their sovereign state, Armenia can do the opposite and say, of course, we invite them, they can come here. And that was a very good signal also from Armenia, because it also indicates who has something to hide and who hasn't.
And do you think in Brussels there is a realization that, as you mentioned, the European Union mission will only be deployed to the Armenian side of the border and not to the Azerbaijani side of the border? Do you think this raised any eyebrows in Brussels?
I do think people realize what it could mean. It is, as I mentioned before, it indicates that one side could be hiding something, although it is totally fine for a sovereign state not to accept such a mission. But it is, people know that there's something going on. And I mean, for people who have been involved in the conflict or have been like studying it for quite some time, this is not a surprise. Azerbaijan's behavior towards the mission is not a surprise, but still it's a good development, and it's good for people to see how the reactions actually were when this was announced. And I think in Azerbaijani state media, there were comments that it only shows that Armenia is not a sovereign state by accepting EU monitors there, which is absolutely ridiculous, because it shows that Armenia is a sovereign state because they have the ability to invite whomever they want. They can. Yeah, if they want EU people there, they ask EU people to come. If they want Germans there, Germans could come. That is the idea for a sovereign state, to invite people as they like.
The civilian mission's mandate is for 2 months, but Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has already stated that it could be extended further. What do you think about the fact that it is only for 2 months? Would you like to see it extended as well?
I would like to see it as long as it is needed, because what I also read that there's a minimum of 2 months, or that probably they will reassess. The idea behind that is that there is now a commitment to work on a peace treaty until the end of the year, and I think that's the correspondence with the 2 months time frame. If that won't be achieved, or the mission itself finds out that their presence is needed for a longer period of time, and Armenia agrees on their presence, I don't see why they shouldn't be there for a longer period of time.
And Russia's Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has expressed her displeasure about the EU civilian mission. She accused the EU of meddling and attempting to thwart or oust Russia as a mediator in the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict. Do you think the EU is cognizant of Moscow's relationship with Armenia, with its security arrangements with Armenia? And Do you think the EU is cognizant of Moscow's reaction?
I'm very sure, but I think, first of all, Russia displaced itself in the situation because they were not able to deliver on their obligations towards Armenia. And even if you say even if you don't judge them for not giving military assistance via the collective security arrangements present, you could still argue that they have not done enough. Like sending one mission to see how the situation at the border is not what Armenia should expect in their arrangements with Russia. So I'm not surprised by the Russian reaction. I think that by their non-reaction on the recent Azerbaijani attacks, that they created some kind of power vacuum, and the European Union and also the United States, they are feeling that now. And it's interesting to see that now that the EU mission was announced, Russia suddenly also gets more involved, and OSCE gets more involved, and it seems like it spiked some interest.
And since the European Union announced this decision, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe has announced that it will send a needs assessment team to the border. The CSTO, a Russian-led military alliance, has also stated that it could send a mission to the Armenia-Azerbaijan border. Could the EU mission just be a start? Could we see further such missions in the future?
Yes, that's what I just meant. It's I think that they realize that they can't just stay quiet and do nothing. And so the EU mission is kind of small. It's only 40 people is not a lot for such a long border. So yeah, it would be interesting to see if a cooperation is possible, because right now the relations to the CSTO countries and between the European Union and CSTO countries is not the best, obviously. But I hope that somehow they can actually cooperate, at least in practical manners. Although I can imagine that in Armenia right now there's not much trust in the CSTO. And it's interesting because I know also that people in Armenia have been very disappointed with the European Union in the past, that there seems to be more trust in the European Union monitoring mission than in a CSTO need assessment mission. That's a very interesting development. I would not have bet money on that some month ago.
And finally, some have criticized the European Union for its lack of attention to the plight of the Armenians of Karabakh. Armenian government officials have stated that certain powers are encouraging the Armenian side to move negotiations from the issue of the status of Nagorno-Karabakh to the rights and freedoms of the Armenians living there. But obviously, what rights and freedoms can the Armenian population of Karabakh expect under Azerbaijani control? What do you think about this talk that the European Union does not fully appreciate the plight of the Armenians of Karabakh?
Yeah, I've been criticizing that a lot in the past, because for a very long time the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh have not been any subject of the discussions at all. At some point, Charles Michel at least raised the issue and said that there has to be a solution for their safety and security. But I think that that issue should be addressed throughoutly, because if Azerbaijan would be in control of Nagorno-Karabakh, people would have less freedom than they have now if there wouldn't be any issue between Armenia and Azerbaijan, because Azerbaijan is not a free country, and the Armenians in Karabakh managed in a very impressive way to build up a little democracy under very, very difficult circumstances. And also this is acknowledged by, for example, Freedom House lists Nagorno-Karabakh as a separate region and gives them a kind of a good score. It's not ideal, but it's way better than Azerbaijan. And Azerbaijan right now, the question of self-determination is very difficult, but you say usually currently that self-determination, external self-determination, remedial secession is possible if there are grave human rights violations, and it is unacceptable for the people to live under the umbrella of a host state. And for me, what I'm surprised of is that Azerbaijan is right now trying to do everything to make sure that this is actually acknowledged as a fact, because you see there is no single Armenian living in the territories they retook or took in 2020. They are raising villages, graveyards, and now Azerbaijan, for example, could have the chance to say, hey, we are starting a program to resettle Armenians in Hadrut. We make sure that their cultural heritage is protected, was also ordered by the International Court of Justice. But they do the opposite. I feel like they want to make sure that there is no alternative for the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh than to fight for their self-determination, external self-determination. So this is a very big issue, and also I haven't seen, from the European Union side, I haven't seen any progress in like ensuring their safety and security. This is one of the biggest issues. This has been the issue at the core for 30 years. And I don't see any progress here. Still, it's a good thing the best thing that can happen is prevent further violence, prevent further escalations, and therefore I think it's a good thing that there's a monitoring mission on the Armenian border. But I hope that in the peace talks now that the Nagorno-Karabakh issues will have a more present role, will be more at the core of the debate.
Well, Mr. Hoffmann, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us on CivilNet.